I wanted to look at this flyback because these are known to be bad. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the basement shop. In this box, we have a TV restoration project. So let's get it opened up and I'll show you what we have. I think I'm going to cut this box, slide the TV out, and then lift it. We'll see how this goes. Yep, it's a Zenith Porthole. And the model number is G2327Z. So let me get it up on the bench and we'll take a closer look. This is a 1950 Zenith Porthole, 12-inch set. The model number on these Zenith Porthole sets it's all over the place as far as trying to decipher what kind of set and what chassis you have. This is a model G2327Z. I found one set online with the same model number, but it had just a kind of a rectangular cabinet. This does have the 12 UP4, the metal cone CRT. Tolex or some kind of a material that's put over, glued on top of the wood. Yeah, it's scuffed up, but the thing about this material, it usually cleans up okay. So we're not worried about that right now anyway. Like all the knobs are here behind the door. So we have 5 knobs. On, off, volume, channel clunker, and it turns, so that's encouraging. This switch is for to expand the picture, regular mode, or you can expand up and down to fill the screen. It's there, but it doesn't want to work, so something going off that switch. But the door's there, so that's a plus. This is an antenna adjustment. This has a built-in antenna at the top of the cabinet, and you turn this for the best picture. Well, we got some tubes missing. A couple of tuner tubes missing. But hey, we do have the AC interlock here. And these were different than a typical set used. You see how wide the spacing is. Good to have that. There's that antenna that I mentioned. And this is Zenith's own tuner design. You can see how large it is. Runs all the way down below the chassis. And the back is missing, so we'll have to come up with something for that. So let's check this picture tube. Keep our fingers crossed and hope that it's still good. Okay, before we get the CRT tester out, have the ohm meter clipped to the filament pins on the CRT just to see if the filament's any good. Because if it's open, no reason to get the tester out. And I'm on the beeper, and we have resistance. Doesn't mean the CRT is any good, but that means the filaments are still good. B&K 440. Socket plugs right in, so here we go. Well, we have a filament. And our two lights are coming on. The left side of each light, that's normal. G1 and G2, that means they're good. Let this cook for a couple of minutes. And we'll check the emission. In about 5 minutes, we're still no G1 or G2 shorts and reading like it should. Emission not the best. We do have decent cutoff. It's adjusting. And life test, not good. Even though the emissions aren't the best on this tube, it is great that we can possibly use this old metal Cone CRT when we do the restore. I'm going to leave it on a few more minutes just on emission, and we'll see if that reading comes up any. This is 30 minutes later. No improvement. I think it's good enough we can at least see a picture on it. And you never know, it might come back to life a little better once we get the set running. But right now I'm going to pull out this chassis and carefully remove that CRT and put it in a safe place. And we can troubleshoot the chassis and repair it with a little test CRT. First we got to pull all those knobs off, and that switch on the front that changes the picture size, we need to make sure it's loose so it'll pull out. Have the channel selector and the on-off volume removed. This channel selector is unique. It's got a slotted shaft. Kind of hard to get off, but we did. And these small knobs are just push-on type. Got the little knurls in the center. They're coming off pretty easy. Now, you can remove them two screws. I think that allows that switch to be removed. We'll try it and see. And this plate comes off with it. It says picture control. Yeah, I think we're loose now. Looks like it is. We have 4 chassis screws, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. So I'm going to turn the set around and remove the front ones first. Pretty large screw and washer. And it's a number 12 X-Lite. This is the safest way to remove chassis screws. Just let the one edge hang over the end of the bench. Well, that kind of threw me a curveball. There was one screw in the back on that side, but there was another screw about the center way on this side. So still 4 screws, but they just had the one spaced out there. So we got it loose. Let's get this pulled out. Okay, speaker's unhooked, but we do have a ground wire going to the speaker, and it attaches here on the back of the chassis right here, so we need to take it loose. This is a large spring here, and it attaches to a plastic insulator underneath the picture tube on each side, and that's what holds the tube in the position, keeps it tight. And this is a high voltage lead. You'll notice the connector, not your typical type, it just clips over the front edge of the tube, and that means all of this metal part here does have high voltage on it when the set's working. Well, I carefully was able to get this spring loose. It fits fairly tight. Kind of a nervous moment getting this ion trap off. These are two magnets, one larger and one smaller, but it fit really tight around the neck of that tube, and I had to do some maneuvering to get it off of the base, get it slid off. And I took a couple of photos so we can put this back in the same position that we took it off. Got a couple of screws here in the front that hold this plastic ring on. They just slide up against the bottom of the tube. That bracket does. Tube is so light that I was pulling up on it too much and it was binding, so just let the pressure off and it slid right out. I can see the reasoning by these metal cone tubes. Weighs practically nothing. All right, I got it in a safe place for now. Zenith did own the Rollin brand in the late 40s, so this could be an original Rollin 12UP4B. And looking at that serial number, I think that says 247 underneath it there. I'm not sure, so if any of you have any information, please let me know. And a little cleaning before I put this CRT in a safe place. Now I see why I had so much trouble getting that ion trap off. The glass is hanging over on this side. The base is hanging over on this side. So before I put this away, I'm going to check it on the CR70 just to see if it tests any differently, hopefully a little stronger. Now we have to use a universal adapter to hook this tube up. So let me go over this really quick. I watched a video the other night and a fella had these settings on 1, 12, 2, 10, and 11, but that's not the way the universal adapter works. The easiest way to remember when you have to use a universal adapter: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the settings that these 5 switches have to be on. This one fella I watched, he tested the tube over and over, and he would go to heater cathode and it would say bad. And he just couldn't understand it. No emission. Well, you got to have your switches set right. And another thing I do before I turn the CR70 on, turn the filament set all the way down so we don't have a surge there when we turn it on. And you can see we're down to 3 volts or less. So we'll set the filament right in there. No heater cathode shorts, no G1 shorts. Cut off. Normal setting is -52. And you can see we're not getting much cutoff there. Now if we lower this, yeah, we can improve that. Emission, not very good. So that's kind of confirming what the B&K showed us. And what about the life test? Yeah, pretty weak. I'll leave it on here just a few minutes and we'll see if that comes up any. Okay, about 5 minutes and emission is coming up. I'm not going to do anything else to this tube right now. If we put it in the chassis and the pictures very weak and unwatchable, then we can go to the auto restore, and that just basically is a mild restore of the CRT, and that might get it up well into the green, but it's still coming up, so I think we'll at least have a picture. So we're going to store this in a safe place. Okay, now we can see the dirty chassis. We are missing several tubes. I think I counted 11 that are gone. Hopefully I'll have those. Won't have to buy any. We shall see on that. Let's take a look underneath. About the typical old 40s, 50s TV. I don't see anything. Looks like it's been butchered or wires cut or anything like that. A lot of original parts. Here's a look at that big tuner. See those large strips there. Zenith's own design, and it was a beast. There's a output transformer, the flyback. Not looking too good, but that doesn't mean anything, so hopefully we're okay there. Let's get some of the dirt off of this chassis. Just shop vac. And we'll clean inside the cabinet too while we're into it. I'm hoping I get some of this dirt off. Might be able to see some numbers to identify this a little better. I think I know what schematic we need, but maybe there's something else on the chassis that's stamped that would help us out. One thing I do notice that's kind of a surprise, on the chassis I've seen repaired online on YouTube videos, there's an insulator between the lower and the upper chassis. This one does not have that. Just to confirm that, we have the meter ground lead here, have my beeper on. Both top and bottom of the chassis are connected together. Now I have to say, this chassis really cleans up. See the difference where I've been cleaning this area here. Well, I've been populating these tubes. I had them all. The only exception, I had to put a sub in for the damper. It's 6W4. I put in a 6AX4, which is, I think will work fine. Hopefully I have the right tubes in the right positions. I think this is a later version of this chassis design. They changed that because the earlier sets used a 19 BG6, used a different horizontal out and several different tubes in the filament string. And this set uses a 6 BG6. So let's look at these two schematics. We'll just take a quick look at the power supply of the two different versions. This one here is a 23G22/23 chassis, which would be the earlier version. And this is the one that has the 19 BG6, a 25W4. And the filament lines are tied directly to the incoming AC. We have two separate strings. This is 6 tubes on this string, and that's coming off of the primary winding of the transformer. which is kind of weird. That's the early version. Now, the set I have, you can see we have a winding off of the primary of the transformer, but that's the filament winding. It goes to this string and to this string. And chassis ground. Chassis ground all the way through here. This also uses a 5U4 and a 5Y3 in the power supply, where the early version uses a 5U4 and a 25Z6. So quite a few differences. And I do have a Zenith service manual that's heading my way that has this chassis in it, it says. So I hope it does, and we can look at it a little further, because this is not a very good copy. Kind of hard to read when you want to zoom into a value of a resistor or a cap. So hopefully that'll help us out. But I think this is the one we have. That's the way I populated the tubes. I think I know why the switch doesn't work. It's like a piece out of the inside of it. Fortunately, I don't think this is anything special. I think it's just a slide to the right, slide to the left switch. So before we get into testing tubes, determining our next move after that, I wanted to look at this flyback, because these are known to be bad. Now I know you can't tell by looking at one whether it's good or bad, but it looks to me like that one's been pretty hot. Now there is no wax at the bottom of the cabinet, but the way this mounts like that, and this is the bottom, so any wax that comes down will be caught by this part here. So that really doesn't tell us anything. We can do some resistance checks. The resistance checks are close to what they're supposed to be, and really the only way of determining anything is to do power up on the set and see what happens. We'll just put it back for now and proceed on. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, if it's bad. But I really don't see anything really bad in this section as far as work that's been done in the past. That's what I'm talking about. This power supply, pretty much right up in here. And the first thing that jumps out at me is look at that cap. I think she's bad for sure. She's spewed out. And we do have another one right here. That one. And it doesn't look like it's spilled out much, if any. This one here, it hasn't leaked any. Doesn't look like. But now this one, yeah, she's leaked quite a bit. All four terminals. This is that's a 4-section, that's a 4-section, and that's a 4-section. Here's a dial cord that's broken. Usually is on these. If it's not, when you look at it, if you try to turn it, it'll break. Goes from here up to that pulley on top of the tuner, and that's fine tuning. Just turns that shaft, which turns the top shaft. That's how you do fine tuning. IF section up in here. Again, I don't see anything that's any major work that's been done. So we're not looking too bad underneath, other than that transformer. If looks would tell you whether it's good or bad, it would definitely be bad by looking at it. But that doesn't mean anything. So let's check these tubes. We don't have to check those 11 that were missing, but we'll check all the rest of them. See if we find any surprises there. Using my RCA WT-110A punch card tube tester. The way these work, if you aren't familiar with them, they have a punch card that you find your tube number. Let's see if we can find this one. This is a 6AG7. Put it in that slot, flip it over, and then you pull this lever back. That turns it on. I put an LED on mine to where I can tell that it's on. They don't normally come with that, but we're on, and we push the tube in. You always want to set the calibration in the center. That's done with this control, and that switch, it says CAL. Just push it up to that, and then we'll go back to quality, and that tube is good. Now you can also check shorts or leakage with this switch right here. And the way this works, if you have cathode G1, G2, or plate shorts or leakage, this light will come on. Now, see none. And some tubes you can do a gas test where you move this lever down, put this on gas, move it down, and the meter shouldn't move. If it starts going up, that tube's gassy. So we got a good tube there. All right, I'm going to check the rest of these. I'll report back when I'm through, tell you if I found any surprises. All right, all the tubes tested. The only one I found bad was 6AL5. Checked really weak. And before I put the tubes back in, I wiped them off, so that's taken care of. And I wiped this dial off. Looks really nice. So that's going to do it for part one of the 1950 Zenith 12-inch porthole. Thanks for watching. See you next time. We hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you did, how about giving us a like and subscribe to our channel? Thanks.